Oh, gosh, when I was a kid, I didn't really think about that. There were two things I remember. One is ever since I was a kid, I was just fascinated by myths and fairy stories and things like that. And I think that's one of the things that got me into art and art history and Greek and Roman studies in particular, because I was just always fascinated by these stories of the myths and legends of ancient Greece, and I used to read those, and so I thought those were really cool, but I never really thought about making a profession out of them. But the one thing I do remember was a very negative thing. Whatever I was going to do, I was not going to be a teacher. I did not want to be a teacher. I just knew that that was not the right career for me. Teaching or museum work are the two most common outlets for people who do art history. So I got a job when I was a graduate student, an internship working in a museum, and I discovered that I didn't like that at all, and then I got a teaching job. And I discovered that I loved it, much to my great surprise. So I kind of came into teaching through the back door. This wasn't something that I had ever planned to do, but it's something that I kind of fell into. But that was many years ago, but ever since then I really enjoyed it enormously, and I still enjoy it enormously. My worst habit as an undergraduate was probably procrastination, which I suspect is a bad habit for many undergraduates today. That is to say, when I knew I had a project due at some time in the future, I would put it off until the last possible moment. And gradually I discovered that it was really much better if I got started a little earlier and allowed myself enough time to go over my writing or prepare a little longer for the exams. But I think we all learn that the hard way. We learn that after one bad experience, we'll kind of bomb a test because we didn't prepare enough. So maybe I shouldn't procrastinate quite so much. I went to a women's college, an all-women's college, and it was a small liberal arts college, so it was very, very different from Davis. When I was a freshman and I was casting around for courses, or actually when I was getting ready for my fall of my freshman year, I wanted to take just sort of a general art history course, but I ran into one of the upperclassmen and she said, oh, you should take Professor Ridgway's course. You really should take this particular class in Greek and Roman archaeology because the teacher is very, very dynamic and very interesting, and you'll really like it, and it's really cool stuff. And so I did, and I think that really fired me up about the topic, and I really got very, very interested in it, and so I continued to pursue it from that point on. Going for a PhD was very much through the back door. When I graduated from college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think in that way I'm very typical of a lot of people. Like I said, I loved my field and I liked the subject, but I knew I didn't want to teach, and almost everybody in humanities usually teaches, gets some kind of a teaching appointment for themselves. And so I really started going to graduate school part-time just as something to do, and I really got quite enthusiastic about it. And it was really only after several years when I began to realize I can do this, and I think that I could make a career out of this, and I think it would be a fun thing to do. And so it was a very slow and gradual process. It's not like I had a vision from the beginning that I knew the path I was going to take and I was going to walk down that path. It was much more a very devious process with a lot of side steps and detours along the way. Well, my teaching appointment, as you know, is in art history, and the class that I'll be offering for the honors program is the lower division Introduction to Ancient Mediterranean Art. But I actually think of myself as more as an archaeologist. I was trained as a field archaeologist, and my graduate degree is in archaeology. And they overlap a lot because all of the objects that we look at in the Ancient Mediterranean Art course were recovered through excavation. They were never objects that were created by people to put in a museum in the way that we think of modern art. It's really the study of ancient civilization in general that interests me, and then the physical artifacts, the objects, many of which are actually beautiful, and we would consider them works of art, but they weren't really made to be works of art. I was fortunate when I was in graduate school to be able to spend time in Greece. I lived in Greece for 2 years, and I spent 3 summers in Greece working on an excavation project there in ancient Corinth. And then when I got to my PhD program, which was at the University of Pennsylvania, They had a long-standing excavation in Turkey at a site called Gordian. And so I started working for the Gordian project then, and then later I started going to Turkey. And for many years I worked at the Gordian project in Turkey and developed a whole group of studies at the ancient culture there, and published 2 volumes of the excavation reports and a number of papers that came out with that. And then a few years ago, I started on a new project in 2010 to be exact. I started on a new project in Bulgaria, and with another ancient culture that was very common in southeastern Bulgaria that actually has quite a bit of contact with western Turkey. And that's been very, very interesting. And I was there in 2011 for a long field season, and then again briefly in 2012. And I just come back from there. I was there in August and September of this past summer, working on doing survey work and trying to map individual archaeological sites in the Rhodope Mountains in southeastern Bulgaria. So that's the main thing that I'm working on right now. I guess I wished I'd had a little more self-confidence and the courage to be myself and not feel so much social pressure to conform to other people's ideas about what I should be doing and thinking, and develop my own path. It took me several years to develop the confidence to follow my own dreams and my own goals, and also to carry through with my own research interest and develop my own career goals. So I think that would be the main thing. Well, I don't have that much free time. I have 2 children, and most of the time when they were young, I spent a lot of time doing things that they were interested in. Since they have now grown up and left home, I have a little more free time, but a lot of the times I come over to the office at work because I've got an awful lot of stuff going on the weekend. My husband and I like to go to concerts. We go to concerts in the Mississippi Center and in Sacramento and San Francisco. And we just enjoy relaxing and having quiet times at home, too. That's nice, too. I get annoyed with the fact that people seem so impatient, and they seem to have everything done right now. Like, relax, you know, it'll get done when it gets done. That was one nice thing about living in the ancient Mediterranean world, I should say, living in Greece, where everything moves along at a much more slow pace. Waiting for somebody with a boat who was supposed to come and pick us up and take us to some site. And I remember the boatman said, well, he'll come when he's ready. And I thought that was kind of a nice philosophy, you know, I'll get done when I'm ready. So I'll try to get things done at my own pace. I mean, obviously, you want to meet deadlines and meet your goals, but at the same time, I think that people are just too impatient, and they need to slow down and relax a little bit more. No, I don't think I do have one single quote that I live by. You know, I think I've given you a little idea about my philosophy, about the idea of relax and try to be true to yourself and have confidence to do what you want to do and follow your goals, but I can't think of any one particular quote. Ancient literature, like things that I read in connection with my work, my favorite books are probably the Iliad and the Odyssey. Which are long, complicated poems, and they're difficult reads, but if you read them more often, they're really fascinating. In contemporary literature, because when I'm on the excavation, we have a lot of time, well, we have some time in the evening to read, and we don't always have TV or other things available to us, and so I enjoy reading. I like the novels by Amy Tan, and I like the novels by, oh gosh, what's his name? The person who wrote 1,000 Splendid Suns. He's only published 3 books, but I read all 3 of them. I really enjoyed those as well. So I would say those are 2 authors whose work I really enjoy reading. I don't know, maybe I'd like to go back in time and look at some of the things that I study and the cultures that I study and see what it was really like back then. It will be kind of cool. I don't know, maybe it would be frightening once you actually got there and discovered things were really pretty rough and maybe we don't appreciate what we have right now as much as we do, but that will be something that I think I might enjoy. Well, I like most of the things about it. I like teaching, as I said. I like my subject matter, and I like working with students. And it's always satisfying to be able to help students. And I like working with students who are interested in my material, you know, people who major in art history and go on to graduate school. But I also enjoy working with students whose interests are completely different. And I've worked with a lot of students who want to go to medical school, want to go to law school, or go into business, or things that have nothing whatsoever to do with art history. But they still appreciate the kind of training and interest that they get out of art history, and so they find that very, very rewarding. But I also like my research very much. I have a lot of interesting research projects, and so I enjoy that. And I just enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the social life at the university. So overall, I feel I'm very lucky to have found a good job and a good situation at Davis.